Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare video. In tonight's video, we are going to be talking about the AUG that was buffed last week and why this weapon is so good in this game as of right now. And what I talk about a lot about class setups or best weapon setups is they evolve over time, but this one with the AUG has taken a complete 180 because of the fact that they buffed the 5.56 ammo on the AUG, which traditionally uses I think 9mm ammo for an SMG, and they switched that over to the 5.56 NATO ammo with one of the attachments, and that was what was specifically buffed and has really just made a 180 on this class setup and has made this weapon into honestly a hybrid god gun. That it's not the best SMG, it's not the best AR, but it fits into a sweet spot right in the middle there, much like the M13, which is super nice for fast fire rate. You could sort of play it as a both. This one is a little different where it's more high power, normal fire rate, but this is an SMG that sort of plays like a mix of an AR and an SMG, and overall is probably one of the top weapons in this game after this update because of the buffs and because of the class setup that I'm able to build around, and other people are able to build and add on or make their own class setups with this weapon as well. But I found one that works very well for me, and I wanted to share it with you guys because, like I said, everything has really changed around this weapon, and it went from being, it was a solid gun in the game, but definitely these buffs made it, this is the way to play with it, and a lot better of a weapon overall. If you guys could drop a like on this video, let's go ahead and go for 647 likes. That would be absolutely incredible. Appreciate if everyone could take that second out of their day or out of their night and scroll down and tap that like button. Would be much appreciated. Once again, let's go for 647. Also subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and not already subscribed. Hit that sub button, hit that notification bell. Let's go ahead and break it down and get right into it. So what was actually buffed or changed on this weapon? Now, from the official patch notes on Reddit posted from Infinity Ward, this was in the hotfix update. So right before we got the 1.09, this was from the hotfix update earlier in the week, and it says the Aug 5.56 caliber conversion increased close range damage, increased mid-range damage, and reduced chest multiplier. So some good buffs we have as far as that. Obviously anytime you're increasing the damage your weapon does at different ranges, that is a big reason that of why certain weapons are stronger than others, or why they work at better ranges with time to kills, or with it goes hand in hand with recoil control. And honestly, recoil control on this weapon isn't really too tough. So these buffs are around in the ammunition category, the 5.56 ammo, and I'll show that up on the screen right now. As you can see, you have the choice to run with 32 round mag of just your normal magazine, your normal ammunition, or you change it over to the 5.56, which is how you receive these buffs, and you're able to go with either a 30 round magazine, which you just get punished on your recoil a tiny bit and add damage and range. And honestly, I don't think this gun has too much recoil. If it does, it's mostly just vertical recoil that if you get good at, or if you just practice over and over with this weapon, being in a private match or a normal match, pulling down on that right thumbstick, you can pull down and sort of counteract the recoil. And a lot of the guns in this game and in a lot of different Call of Duty games where the recoil is just straight up vertical or a bounce pattern, this one I would say is more just like straight up vertical and is pretty easy to control the recoil for the most part. If you go with the 60 round drum mag, now obviously you're doubling your magazine size, however the amount of cons that you get on that are a bit too strong for me personally, and also I pair this with sleight of hand, so the reload time is just like that instantly, and not instantly but very fast reload time on this weapon. It's already an SMG with decent reload patterns, then you add sleight of hand onto that. I find it works out really well, and that's why I go with the NATO 30 round magazine personally. Now, as far as the other attachments and everything that designed around this class setup, we'll get to that in a second, but first I want to cover the perk loadout with this setup, because honestly, I've gone through a lot of different experimenting with the perks, and I find that this perk setup, usually sometimes on class setups, I'll say, hey, you can swap this out, you can swap this out. I find the perk setup works almost flawlessly on this weapon, and we'll throw it up on the screen, explain it right here. Perk number 1 is EOD, which is pretty standard. Sometimes on SMGs, you can go ahead and rock with something like maybe a double time, to take advantage of the sprint abilities, but obviously on a smaller map like Shoot House, you don't really need to have double the sprint variation. The crouch aspect of it can help as well, but it really does not compete with EOD on a map like this or in a class up like this. EOD is just so strong, and I find that a lot of people still find themselves dying to claymores quite a bit. I don't know why, but I find that I'm able to Sometimes I'll die to them, for sure, but a lot of the time I'm able to just, if I see the claymore or react to it by just jumping at a certain angle with EOD, and it'll usually almost always hit marker you. Sometimes it'll get the straight up kill if you can't pull the jump move off correctly. I don't really know how it's played out. That's just what I've noticed through my gameplay, is I am not dying a ton to claymores anymore. I'm still getting hit by them, getting weakened by them, and of course a lot of the times where there's a claymore, there's a guy sitting there ready to camp and shoot you anyway. If you're weak, he can win the gunfight. But EOD, really, really nice. Perk number 2, Ghost. Now I was trying everything on this, high alert, kill chain. Ghost is so good. I find that it works really nice because this setup is, like I said, a hybrid setup, and staying off of that radar. I mean, the way Ghost works in this game, it's good that it's in the second perk slot, but it still is just overpowered. I mean, even being in that second perk slot that's competitive with some other options, the way it works in this game is it basically just makes you very, very hard to find from stuff that people use quite often in this game, which would be UAVs, because of just not just the fact that the game is new, it's just a really popular kill streak in this game, as it is in mainly all the Call of Duty games. And Ghost, the way it works in this game, it's very, very effective. Even though, of course, if you are, you know, the way it works with shooting and stuff like that, Ghost doesn't really impact that, shooting your gun off, but it impacts with keeping you just silent off of that radar when it's going to be UAVs, helps you against advanced, which you shouldn't be getting advanced on anyway too often, or things like that. Next is perk 3, which is going to be tune-up, which is pretty self-explanatory as well. I've definitely fallen in love with tune-up as the perk 3 option. A lot of the times I will mix it up and go with maybe a tracker or a battle hardened, but tune-up is my most used by far, and just being able to charge up those field upgrades when I'm rocking with a double field upgrade, whether it be either stopping power and the ammunitions box, or dead silence and the ammunitions box. Tune-up is amazing. And then your lethal, you can run sort of whatever you want with that, and then the tactical, I run with the stim shots. So that's what we go with as far as the perk setup, as far as the ammo setup, and then with the actual attachments, when we go ahead and break those attachments down, let's go ahead and hop into the game and into the class setups and break down all the other 3 attachments, I guess you could say, because we already have the 5.56 NATO ammo, the sleight of hand is the weapon perk, and we'll talk about the other 3 attachments right here. We switch over to the game. Drop a like. Here we go. Alright, we've already talked about the ammunition and the perk sleight of hand, so let's talk about the attachments that really make this weapon from like an SMG into more of a hybrid AR SMG mix that can do well at medium to long range. First of all, with the muzzle, the monolithic suppressor. Now, this is probably one of the best just overall attachments in this game, whether it's an SMG or an assault rifle, whatever it is, it's just amazing, and it does cost you a little bit on 2 things that do kind of matter. ADS speed definitely does matter, but you do get sound suppression, which is nice. I like to have on SMGs. It is very nice because of the fact that just the way the minimap interacts with other people, obviously suppressor not keeping you off of that, but because people aren't popping up on the minimap, a lot of people are relying on game sound to figure out where people are, and sound suppression on your weapon, it's not the best thing in the world, but it definitely does have a purpose. It's not as useless as I thought it would be when I was first realizing how the map worked and everything when this game was first released. And then damage range, of course, is super good to pair along with the patch update. Really makes complete sense. Next is going to be a barrel. You're definitely going to want to go with that on the muzzle. You're definitely going to want to go with something on the barrel, but for the barrel, you have a decision to make here between probably either the 407 extended barrel. You could go lightweight if you want to go more SMG form, but I find to use this weapon, I mean, you already have some attachments and the speed of this weapon. For example, something like the fact that it's an SMG, so you don't really have to use a stock, even though an ultralight hollow would be nice. You don't need it because the strafe speed on SMGs already really outclasses that of the ARs just deep by default, right? So I would either go with the 407 extended barrel or the 622 long barrel. And the difference here is, of course, this one is going to be a much longer barrel, going from 407 to 622. It is a significant difference. Your mobility does get costed more, though. You do lose more ADS speed. You do gain, of course, more damage at range because of the longer barrel, but you also do give up some movement speed. So I think this really does come down to the situation where you're using it. If you're playing on a 6v6 on a Hackney Yard or on a shoot house or a gun runner, maybe some of the smaller maps in this game, which there aren't really that many small maps in this game, unfortunately, but I would probably go with the 407 extended barrel. But if you want to take this thing into a ground war or a 10v10 or a bigger map where you're going to need more damage at range, definitely I would take the penalties here and go with the 622 millimeter long barrel. And then depending on what you do here, personally, after that, the barrel, I would choose between one of these two. Muzzle, I would keep the same. Ammo, I would keep the same. Perk, I would keep the same. And then the last attachment actually does come down to a little bit of a decision-making process here. Whether you want to go with a laser or a rear grip. Now, for the laser, in these gameplays, I was using the 5MW laser, which is pretty nasty on smaller maps and in more close-range scenarios. You have the hipfire accuracy in case you do need to hipfire, or even just start the first couple shots as a hipfire and then aim down sights, as a process right after. And then the sprint to fire speed is very, very helpful, because this is a game where you really can't get caught out in a sprint because there's people, mounted up, leaning around corners, and just the raw time to kill is so damn fast. You do not want to get caught in a sprint in this game. I find that is very, very effective. However, if you want to go with, let's say, I'd say this would be the setup to use on a shoot house or a map like that. Now, if you want to go to a bigger situation, you want to take it to the 622, I would probably say swap off of this and go with the stippled grip tape, which you could do this for even if you're just running the 407 barrel, but the stippled grip tape is unlocked a lot later on this weapon, so I would say go with the lasers as you're leveling it up. But the stippled grip tape is nice, aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. This can be nice to counteract a little bit of that upgraded penalties to your mobility and ADS speed and all that stuff from the barrel. So this would be a setup, I'd say, for more of a longer range. I would say for this weapon, it can be really, really good. And if you want to take it more of a closer range, I mean, you could even just swap this out and go like this, or of course change that barrel up. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Drop a like on this thing if you guys could. If you guys made it to the end, comment AUG down in the comment section down below. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and not already subscribed. I'll catch you on the next one, and that's about it. I'm out. Peace.